How you doing, everybody? My name is Dean Olson. I'm a songwriter, radio host, and producer from Orange County, California, and I'm really just an average guy who loves to make music. But when I get behind a microphone, I become the strong writer on the radio, helping songwriters and artists keep musically fit. Now, the way I love to do that is through faith and hope and encouragement, by taking in the stories and experiences told to me by my wonderful guests, and by learning from the best in the business and passing it along to you. And now, I want to welcome you to another beautiful day for a fantastic show. Thank you for checking me out on iHeartRadio. Power me up, talk and music 24/7, the station with heart on iHeart. And today, I have somebody waiting backstage and a special guest star who is with him. These people are very unique artists in their own rights and talents that run the spectrum from singer-songwriter, musician, to studio engineering, production, and digital filmmaking. The man on the screen that you're seeing right here on the right side of your screen is Daniel Ryman, known also as Dr. Ryman, from what I heard on his 2012 album, Lean Into the Blast. He is quite the virtuoso on the keytar, and that the result sounds more like a Fender Telecaster than an electronic keyboard. And you'll see, I may even play a little bit of that in the show. In any case, the doctor is in with a special guest, and we're going to bring him on and introduce him right now. So let me help welcome to the show, Daniel Ryman and Kenneth Roy.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having us. We're having a ball just seeing what you guys want to talk about or what you might be interested in asking.
I'll tell you what. Well, the doctor's orders. I'm telling you, this is
okay. Doctor order. Okay.
Let's start with before we get into what's going on with you, Kenneth, because you got some pretty cool things happening for you right now. So I thought maybe let me ask this guy over here next to you.
Okay. You go ahead. You direct the show. You do what you think is the right thing to do.
Well, Doctor, tell me, is Kenneth the star here, or is it you? Tell me, what's going on over here?
Kenneth truly is the star, but we do almost everything together. You know, we basically vote as there's no third vote to break the tie, so we've got to agree on whatever it is.
Yeah,
which is a good thing, and we do overlap on a multiple level of skills. I've been engineering, and I started out as a musician and started out as a child musician. You know, I'll get this whole story as short as I can. Mm-hmm. I finished college level. Well, I was playing everything. Finally convinced my parents to get a spinet piano about at the age of 5. And my parents were not musical people and didn't know much about it. I bounced off many teachers. And by the time age of 8, I was doing quite a bit of classical, and they were looking for a classical teacher. We were up in Napa Valley, which at the time wasn't the Disneyland that it is now. It was a little dusty farm town with 3,000 people in it, and maybe only 30 wineries as opposed to the current 300. So my parents, not knowing about it, they turned to University of the Pacific, which is up the hill in Napa Valley in Angwin, which is a Seventh-day Adventist college, and they had a very, very good classical program. And I was doing this thing where I had to get up before school and practice 2 hours on the piano before I went to school, and I was hating it. I'm also a 60s child. Ken's more a decade younger than I, so he's more 70s, 80s related. They're telling me at the tender age of 8 that the Beatles aren't music and the Rolling Stones aren't music, and I wasn't allowed to play any of that stuff. I made him a deal. If I passed my college level classical piano, then I could play what I wanted, and I did that at age 12, and that's exactly what happened. I did actually quit playing for a couple of years because I had such pressure on the experience from age 5 to 12 that I kind of backed off the piano. But I had a very smart school instructor who, out of nowhere, he had heard that I had perfect pitch, which is how I achieved my way through so many orchestral things. He had heard that my piano experience, and he walked up to me, not even knowing me, one day and handed me a French horn in the case and said, "Take this home and see if you can do something with it." And I feel very bad for all the neighbors that listened to me sit on the front lawn and bleep and blurp for several months before he didn't even give me a fingering book. But I learned the instrument real quick, and long and short of it, once you learn brass, I ended up being a trumpet player and the tuba player in the marching band when they needed it. But I earned every year our jazz band would go to Reno, jazz festival, and we were a AAA school, 100 people in my class. So you generally don't have really good bands out of that. But in our case, they would pick a couple players from each band to make an all-star band, and I would make that every year, which eventually led to the same year I got my draft card. I also got a full scholarship at University of Reno for playing stand-up bass, another one of the, like I say, multi-instrumentalists,
Wow.
and French horn. Even though so I wasn't really even playing any piano at that time. Upon leaving there and deciding I wanted to play modern music and play with the band, I came back to Napa Valley, found a bunch of Napa musicians, converted back into a keyboard player, and started playing with those bands, started playing some progressive music. That led to going out on the road with a rock band for a year or two, but we were playing bars and making $100 a week. We're talking $1974 here. And in the midst of that, I ran into another band on the road who wanted my keyboard skills and offered me 5 times that much to work for them, although they were playing lounge music, which I didn't like the music as much, but $550 a week was in $74 was a considerable raise.
Nothing to sneeze at, sure.
Yeah, so when one tour ended, I grabbed a train and I went back up to Oregon, which is where they were from, and band was called Boomerang, and joined them, and they had funding and a backer and management because they were run by one of the Allen brothers. I don't know if you heard of Chris and Peter Allen. You've probably heard of Peter Allen because he did some stage writing in New York. He's a well-known stage writer. He has
he was dancing with the Rockettes at one point, if I remember right.
Yeah.
So I mean,
the song Rio is his song. For
of course,
so,
Peter Allen.
So,
and
everybody heard that.
So he and his brother, when they were children, had a TV station in Australia. So they were celebrities when they toured the United States. So they split up. Chris wanted to do the stage thing. Peter wanted to do the stage thing. Chris wanted to form a band and go more mainstream.
It's a little bit like the Gibb brothers.
Yeah.
A little bit, but there's just one less guy. 2 or 3 less guys.
The thing was, Chris was connected. He had been on Merv Douglas, Merv Griffin, Michael Douglas, Dick Cavett, Johnny Carson. And so we were all set up to do all these shows. We're playing Red Lions, Thunderbirds, Holiday Inn. Yeah, Holiday Inn. And 6 nights a week, with the 7th night being move everything, 7th day, move it all in the van and get to the next Red Lion or whatever it was and set up for the next day. Oh, wow. So it was hard for about 18 months. We made a couple laps, and in that last lap, we had picked up ABC management. We were on our way for Johnny Carson and the interviews and all of that, and the singer folded under the pressure. She was a young lady from Oregon, and she had never seen anything like that. And all those 6 days in a row, I think when it came down to him, she the fear of success, I think, we didn't know what happened to her initially. She basically called Dad and then flew home to Oregon. We found ourselves without a singer for a night. Wow. Odd story, but that led me back into Napa Valley and made me think about being a musician and a sideman. And I decided at that point I needed to know how records were made. So at that point I started turning into an engineer, doing more mixing, started building home studios. That led into the 80s when MIDI came in, so I started building home studios for other people, some of them well-known. Ray Lynch, platinum artist, I built his entire studio, top to bottom, and design. Nice. Laughing Coyote, which is a 2,000 square foot 4-room, 48-track room up in Ukiah, California, with my last and largest build. But in order to be isolated in Northern California, you kind of have to run a lot of jobs. I was also working with Apple Computer. I was for a while, QuickTime was a broadcast, very much like before there was YouTube and QuickTime. You could open QuickTime and see a streaming show. And so I had a good relationship with Apple at the time, and I formed one of the first companies, few musicians, before there was Google Music or YouTube or any of that stuff. I formed a company called Wire on Fire, where musicians could play a monthly annuity of $25, $50, or $75, depending on which services and how many products. And we hand-built them a player, and we streamed it from our own QuickTime streamers, so it was secure, and we built them a website, and we secured them with credit card worldwide, and we did the books, and we shipped the product, and every 30 days we closed them out. That way they could do music, And we took care of all that a record company would normally do, because this was around the year 2000, and record companies weren't doing what, they were disappearing and turning into fashion and other do-it-yourself things. So we picked up at one point almost 100 artists. For 8 years, our lead artist was Earth, Wind, and Fire. So I did their website and attended to all of their shipping needs and whatnot. And I added a studio at some point because I'd always wanted to do that and had to work out at commercial studios. And of course, in the day, it was impossible to have a home studio. The recording machine itself is $250,000.
Of course,
the machine was $500,000. Well, as we come around to 2000s, we start getting into computer recording, and the formats changed, and people could afford things at home, and so on. I was, of course, teaching Apple stuff because I was using it. I was on the QuickTime group with Steve Jobs trying to determine the future of QuickTime, which actually has everything to do with Zoom, and all the AV stuff that we use now really is they were all backboned off of QuickTime, and are now just buried. QuickTime still exists, but it's deep inside the Apple code.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I had a 40-year relationship with Apple. We got a show sandwiched between Bill Clinton and Barbara Streisand on one occasion, and the company did real well for 4 or 5 years. I didn't take any .com money because we were able to fly it ourselves. Then the .com fell out. YouTube and all the free services rose, and I couldn't compete against free. I still have the same infrastructure in place, but now I use it on a particular artist that I moved with. I grew from studio builder, acoustician, studio musician, many hats up here in the North Bay area. I turned down a job with Lucas because I was overqualified. Although they offered.
He didn't want to do it.
Well,
he really didn't want to do it. That's what was going on. It would have killed him to be more technical the whole time.
Instead of wanting to put me on the music or mixing deck, I had so much technical experience as well as a musical experience. They wanted to make me a maintenance supervisor, and the last thing I wanted to do was sit at a desk all day and fill out clipboards and go, "Oh, is this machine done? Is this machine done?" And I said, "That's a nice 6-figure job, but that's not who I am." And I've been working basically to draw this to current, basically as an independent engineer by word of mouth for 4 decades now. Knock on everything that we have, but one project has led to another, a couple gold records, and I met Ken, and we started to. Well, he was reaching out in the 80s as he came out of his college experience, and had done a lot of early synthesizer work, and there wasn't a very easy way to save your synthesizer sounds, patches, and work that you did in the 80s. To go back to, he says, the youth that listened to the show, we actually used to have to take cassette tapes and sync them to our synthesizer.
That's right.
That's right, exactly. And floppy disks.
Yeah,
I was going to say that, floppy disk, and you know how big that media was. How much.
Yeah, a lot of floppies, a lot of information.
Trying to get people to understand that we had to really keep it down to a few takes, because just one reel of 2-inch tape costs $250, and that's 15 minutes of recording time. You could go on slow, but the quality wouldn't be as good. So
15 versus 30. I feel
so much changed, and I was on the road building for a long time, but finally after around 2005, between the company and my mother had passed from there, and I got a little bit of money, and so I took my 2020 garage with a couple of friends, and we knocked the whole thing out into a very heavy-duty garage home studio, since I built like 10 of them that were in Mix magazine in the 80s. And since that was kind of what I did for a living, and then I had realized also around the year 2000 that no music was going out without a video. So the room was built as 2 rooms. One side is completely green screen for 20 feet and has a green floor. So we're set up to shoot full cameras and movies or any kind of background we want. The other side has drum sets and pianos and all the instruments, and it's all set up to go. So this way I don't have to do a dance around the room, which I used to sort of have to make the room up for what the session is. Now the room's sort of in a permanent condition. Are we working on this side, that side, or both sides? And we're set up to stream HD 24-bit live out of here with HD cameras at 4K as well. So during the
Always good.
it was very handy during the pandemic. Work never stopped for us. Actually, the album dropped. We have the worst luck. Our second album dropped in 2008 during the financial crisis.
Oh yeah, good time for that, right?
It did very well, but the timing just killed it. And
bad timing.
Else. Yeah. So here we go with this one, and actually we had a couple.
2020 COVID. Yeah, so that was a good one. Right,
timing is everything on all these things, isn't it?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Well, we had two pre-release songs that were ready early, so we dropped one in 2017, and darn if it didn't hit the charts. And that's "Let Your Love Come Down," the full horn section song, which is nice R&B, Tower of Power, what Tom was talking about. A little more of full. It's
R&B. It's soul music.
Yeah, it's R&B with full horn section. And that did very well. As a matter of fact, it went on for about a year, and then we dropped a second preview because, the tune was ready, and the rest of the record wasn't. We thought, we've got a preview going already. So the second tune was "Empty Heart," which
no. The second one actually was "Two of a Kind."
Oh, it was "Two of a Kind," really? Excuse me.
Which was before the album came out.
See, this is what happens when you do too many records.
And then we skipped a year because we were busy doing mastering and mixing and stuff, trying to get the whole thing done. Then it was "Empty Heart."
That's right. Oh.
So that "Empty Heart" was the third single.
"Empty Heart" actually was released during COVID.
Right. Then we realized we had to do videos to go with it because nobody knows what's going on. So then we started doing videos, and nobody even knew what I looked like till No Dice on the cover of 2008.
Okay. This is true.
That's how far back No Dice is? I didn't realize it was that old nowadays.
Oh, yeah, it's a 2008. Yeah,
it still sounds pretty good today.
Yeah. And that features a wonderful friend of Dr. Daniel Ryman's here named Michael Spears. He filled in for Richie Blackmore when Deep Purple was going in the day, and didn't even need a script. He already knew all the songs and just jumped in like he'd been playing in the band from day one.
A monster,
to give you an idea.
Guitarist who did a lot of touring in the Midwest, what we would call hard rock these days.
Yeah,
and you wouldn't think he wouldn't fit with what we did, but he stepped right in. I'm speaking about him in the past tense because bless his heart, he passed about 6 or 8 years ago.
Oh, really? Okay.
He was a combat vet. And we're talking Green Beret, Army Ranger, 2 tours in Cambodia where we never were. And he survived and came back. And, he never really was in Vietnam except when he came to talk to the CIA guys to tell him, I guess it's 50 years later we can do this.
Yeah.
The CIA guys that would send him in on a mission. And, he was dressed in black and had army boots with sandal soles. And they'd drop him 300 feet over the bush at night, and he'd fly
in the night. Exactly.
Fly in the C-130s, and once full of Agent Orange, and once they dumped the Agent Orange, they would then dump the guys out, and it was the Agent Orange actually that would cause his health problems.
Jump into there.
So it's a sad story. But that said, after all of that, he came home and he played for a good 20 years, put his own band back together.
No, he was a fantastic rock and roll guitar player. There's no doubt about that.
We were lucky to really get him. It was pretty much the last major project that he worked on before health became an issue with him. So here's to Michael Thomas Spears.
Yeah, Michael Thomas.
Yeah. Glad you're able to give him a little tribute there. I like that. Thank you. Yeah. Sounds good.
Back to Kenny's trip. Kenny was already working at another studio. I mean, let you take that over.
First of all, Kenny, do you believe a word of what he's saying over there? My God, he's had quite the life. He's a Renaissance man and a troubadour and all that rolled into one.
Yeah. There's a lot there. If you want to go into deeper interviews and segments, I think you got plenty of room.
I don't know if we have room for you now because his story took up about a half an hour there. No, I appreciate it a lot.
No, really. that could have very well been. I don't know how long it's been. Some of this stuff he keeps talking, and now I'm learning for the first time. So we'll see what happens.
And we've been working together for 26 years.
Yes. Sometimes that's the beauty of talking this stuff out. You new things come out that you might not have even thought about in years or learned for the first time. So
yeah, exactly.
So Kenny, there's No Dice. Was that the first big deal album that you put out, or had you been doing stuff beforehand?
No. For heaven's sakes, that was just the tip of the iceberg. At this point, I kind of call that in the middle.
Okay.
I had recordings that started in the early 90s.
Okay. Sounds good. Now we're talking.
1990s. I was working at a studio as a solo guy.
He was doing solo singer-songwriter, singer piano.
Yeah, right. So I was trying to split my time up between trying to come out with a product that might be accessible to try to get me like work locally. And I was recording at a studio. And what we decided to do was try to come out with a piece of something that represented my music. So, but what happened was the acoustic stuff that I was doing at the time, they wanted more like multi-tracking. So, you know, more like 24 track, 16 track, etc. And I didn't have, although I had a couple of songs that were pretty good, they were okay polished. It took time to come up with enough songs to qualify for a compact disc, which is the very first Kenneth Roy released in 1995.
Great. So and you produce all of it yourself. In other words, you demoed it. Well,
I was working with independent studios, and we put the project together so we could finally get a compilation of the songs that I had at the time. One tune got some Northwestern airplay from the top of the record called "Don't Run From Me" in 1992, and that was a Northwestern hit in the Oregon and Washington state area.
What kind of style, what genre would that have been for that time period? You know,
I don't know. A lot of different things with a fast tempo, kind of like Phil Collins' Genesis, or I don't know, possibly Peter Gabriel or something like that. But I was trying to make something up tempo, something pop music sounding, and the tune did quite well.
Yeah. Something upbeat that you could jam to in your car or whatever, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Something danceable is what we're really looking for. Yes, sir.
So that was second in time. So he has a total of 7 tunes in his library. I mean, 7 albums in his library.
7 whole albums. Yeah.
And we released a Christmas single this year.
We got a Christmas tune now. I forgot all about that.
Tell me about the Christmas tune. That's always good to to pull out during the holidays. You know, if.
Well, yeah, we didn't know we were going to have one, so it was a tune called "Christmas Cheer," and there's a couple of handfuls that I had over here, and we were trying to figure out in studio which one would be the one that we could really squeeze it down and easily put the thing out with the least amount of work on it, and that's how come that one was chosen. It's kind of like a mellow 12/8, like medium ballad thing.
Yes, it's not your usual Christmas song. It's a very just a happy part of it.
A little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's but it's very pleasant to listen to and can't possibly offend anyone. Very secular.
No, it doesn't offend anybody. It's called Christmas Cheer. It's a great song. You check it out.
Well, if you want to offend people, it's not too hard these days.
No, the holidays are always coming back up again, no matter what you do. So we're good. Yeah.
When the after November rolls around, or even October, you can't run from the Christmas tunes around there. Whether you're into it or you aren't,
every season.
There.
Sure.
I'll give you a little backstory on that, then I'll turn it back over to Ken.
Okay.
We had been running through these tune after tune and not missing. You know, like I said, this is the Chairman will be the 6th top 10 single in consecutively off of the album Chairman at this time. So some radio programmers knew us because we kept recurring. As a matter of fact, we got on the Billboard chart as the most recurrent group of the year on the charts.
Okay.
So we were on one chart or another.
They call it spin crease or something like that, or whatever.
Yeah, well, it was the top hot AC most recurrent performances on 222. So we had charted in so many odd areas because our songs cross genre. Anyway, the song before last summer was called "In the Night." That was the 4th one. Empty Heart actually was the one that stayed for 4 weeks in a row at number 1. In the Night stayed for 2 weeks in a row, but hung in the top 10 forever, did very, very well, and it's actually still...
It's probably still on the charts. In the Night was a really good one. That's when we realized we had to start making videos, or nobody's going to identify your song.
Yeah.
Even if you have a great song, it definitely helps to have a video. And we're believers of that.
That's when we started getting... we started picking up people being more aware of us. And we got a phone call out of the blue, or I should say I got a phone call out of the blue from a radio producer who's a very highly respected woman in the industry. She was Dick Clark's main person for 25 years, Debbie Fee. And she is a radio producer across the country for multiple stations and writer and
a professional.
A true professional who's been in the industry
a professional.
Even longer than me.
Oh no!
I don't. Sorry, Debbie. I don't mean to give anything away, but I just want to say Debbie Fee is a highly experienced professional.
No, it only sounds like a compliment to me. So
and of course, Mr. Tom Mazzetta, which is why we're talking.
Well, she's a
wonderful guy.
To complete the story, she called us up straight away rather than calling our representation, and then let us know what our representation wasn't doing for us, and kind of clued us in. And she's the one who said, you really need a pro rep, somebody who knows you guys are you're beyond the point where your representative is doing what he's supposed to be doing for you. And she told us what it was. And we checked it out, and it absolutely was true. And we decided to make the change to Mr. Mazzetta. Actually, he got the album, and he understood the music right away. And he immediately mailed me within the day. Debbie Fee had just basically she picks out all the everything that's played on a mini station. So every day she's listening to an hour of music that, in her words, usually she hates. She's looking for something good. So she called me up, not knowing me, and introduced herself, and then said, told me what she did. And she said, well, this morning I got up to listen to my hour of music that I'm required. I got to pick something out of here to get spins. And I saw you guys' name, and I really liked your last song. So I thought, well, let's listen to this new song. And she listened to the new song, and she said, it made her happy. And she said, oh, I'm gonna pick that song. This song actually is changing my mood for the day. I woke up in a funny mood, and I feel pretty good. And she said I took it straight to Studio City, because that's where they are.
Oh yeah.
And walked right in and proclaimed to her engineer Jim, and said, Jim, I got a song I like here I want you to put on. Jim said, this is how she told it to me. Jim said, Debbie, there's never a song that you like. That's not possible. And she said, no, I really got one. And she started playing it and putting it out to other stations. And
that was I Still Love You So.
And that song turned into I Still Love You So.
It'd be the main song.
It climbed up through the top 100 nationals, and all of a sudden we were surrounded by Miley Cyrus and Beyonce and Harry Styles,
Doja Cat,
and all the Elton John places.
Dua Lipa.
We would read all the.
Well, so it wasn't that long ago then. We were talking about maybe a year or two.
Yeah, a year and a half, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. And that tune has spent the last year on the charts. And I've written so much and published so much about it. I was almost happy that it was coming off and we're moving to the next song.
No.
Here comes our European campaign, and they say, no, we like that song. As a matter of fact, they were going to take it over Chairman. And because we were ready to launch the title track. It was always been our intention to launch the title track, but we found out later that was part of the deal with our radio representative too. He didn't really represent that kind of crowd and didn't know where to go with it. Well, Tom Mazzetta most certainly did.
There we go. So it's obvious that Tom's figured out what's going on.
His question was, why didn't you launch this first? And we went,
that's a very good. Yeah, that's a very good question. Wait a minute, I scratched my head now. Okay, here we go.
Well,
that's good.
In a way, it was an excellent break, because what happened is that Debbie,
the name of the album, right? The Stranger. Right. We've heard of that. Bill. Of course.
Putting the title track in a very professional guy's hand who knew what to take it and how to promote it. And Debbie Fee likes the track as well and has been helping us tremendously and helping us cut through we're at the part of the industry where all the bigger sharks are. I mean, we're all with all these labels. We're Capitol, Sony, Epic, Warner, Physical Wire on Fire, which is us. Who the heck is that? And why are they sandwiched between,
RCA, Atlantic, Capitol, Columbia?
And
they think you snuck in the back door, and who let them in, right?
Yeah,
they're trying to figure it out, and we are trying to be bait. Of course, we are looking for a distribution deal. We have done everything on our own over the years. Yeah. So we are in the midst of gathering. We have our players that played on the band available to us. So we're looking at putting a touring ensemble together. as soon as we get a little juice, which is what this is about.
Thank you. Yeah. Well,
introduce ourselves to people, so put a face to the name and the album and the music, and we're getting a tremendous amount of play in Brazil. I just got my first analytics yesterday. We actually had more play in Brazil than the U.S. on the chairman, actually, and they were both good numbers. We're on all streaming stations. I might as well throw that out there. You could pretty much just type Kenneth Roy or Kenneth Roy Music, and you'll come up.
I will, and so will they. I mean, everybody's
great news.
Yeah. Google, same thing, Kenneth Roy Music. Now, Kenneth Roy is a famous old Irish-Scottish name, and there's going to be a lot of old historical guys on there. But if you type the word music, he's a certified Google artist.
Yeah, do the Kenneth Roy Music. Add on the music at the end, and then they'll take you right there.
Yeah, with Apple, Spotify. As a matter of fact, if you go to Ken's website, which is Kenneth Roy Music, same 3 words.com, there's a player there where you can sample any of the songs, and all the albums are available there. And also, there's a little interface there that goes to the 12 main streaming stations: Amazon, Napster, Apple, Spotify, Deezer in Europe, iHeart, of course. And all you have to do is press the button, and you'll go right straight to his channel. So if you have a streaming service and you want to not have to look up all the URLs, just go to his channel and press the logo of the streaming service that you have, and boom, there you are.
You made it a hub. It's a one-stop shop for you.
We did. There we go. And we have a product, since everybody's doing 24-bit lossless, and I don't know how many listeners are aware this is kind of a technical thing, but for years we've been listening through MP3s. And to make that simple for everybody, that's the music cut down to 1/20th of the music in terms of compression. So now Apple has been the first company to actually broadcast uncompressed music for the first time, and 24-bit music for the first time.
That's great to hear. Yeah. Literally here. Yeah.
Yeah. If you have the Apple service, then you can actually hook it up to some real speakers and a real amplifier, get some of the high-end headphones. It's amazing, the quality. We did make up CDs, but CDs are falling away. I actually talked to a 30-year-old the other day that didn't know what a CD was, and I'm, oh my God. Yeah, swear to God.
They never owned any. They wouldn't know what it is.
You'll have to. Your ears will have to retrain to listen to the proper sonics now, because a lot of us have gotten kind of conditioned or used to that MP3 compression. Those of us who grew up with vinyl and cassette and then CDs and then
I was even going 8 tracks.
I got one right here. I was talking with a guest.
Right on.
I was talking with a guest the other day, just bragging about that.
Wait a minute! Don't put that underneath that bag and hide that. I seen you with an 8 track. Okay. I talk about 8 tracks on and off all the time.
Yeah, if you put all your stuff, hopefully that it won't change tracks halfway through your song, because that's what happened a lot,
Oh, that's the only downside to it. When you used to split a tune in half, and you had to hear the back half on the other program of 4. Yeah,
I tell you, I was at the end of when they were teaching engineers how to cut wax, so I learned how to work a cutting lathe, and the next thing I knew, I was off into digital, and then. And then came ADATs. I explained to everybody, and Tascam's version of it. And then, we had our consumer 16-track reel-to-reels. Is now, you can have 16 tracks at home.
Yeah, right.
So it got confusing for a while there in the 2000s as the projects kind of came through. Us had to be transferred from system to system. I'll throw back to Ken and have him tell him a little more about himself in terms of how he crawled his way out of his college courses and made it from anyone that could be a solo pianist.
I'll ask him real quick here. I understand you went to college up there. You guys are both Northern California, Bay Area somehow.
That's correct, sir.
Did you grow up out there, Kenneth?
Yeah, my original upbringing was primarily in a little town in between Santa Rosa, California, and San Rafael, in what is between Marin and Sonoma County. Oh. So I grew up pretty much in Novato.
Okay.
And
I know where that is, sure.
Yeah, I ended up trying to attend college and so forth. And my times in Novato were really great, I would think, pretty much overall. I really enjoyed working in the school combos and choirs and groups and stuff. And then I got to college, and then it was a whole nother scene. So that's when I realized I really wanted to start writing my own stuff. And I had been writing my own stuff. I probably starting when I was about 15 and a half or so, 16, about the time you're old enough to drive somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So
then you get some real freedom going there. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I was hearing certain songs and groups and stuff, and some of it I liked and some of it I wasn't crazy about. And I was thinking to myself after I'd been playing a while and taking lessons that, well, hell, I can do this. I want to do this. This would be fun, you know? So I just kind of went off ever since. And there's not really, I never looked back.
So you were playing these, the drums and the keyboards at, a real young age, right? And then as you were going through school, had you always had your mind on music the whole time you're going, from K to 12 and then graduating?
Yeah, the whole time. I got thrown out of like my first or second grade class for taking a tambourine from a young girl. And they put me down to the principal's office because they said, that ain't the way you play it. Give me that. Then, you know what I mean? So that wasn't okay. So, you got to go talk to the principal. But no, music was always something was going on because
I thought maybe you were gonna say they took that tambourine. That's where they swat you with the tambourine back then.
Yeah, back then. Even back then. So I just wanted the rhythm because the rhythm was and then it's all in the rhythm. Because if you don't have no rhythm, then nobody's going to be able to play or make any kind of music.
Amen to that.
Yeah,
I've tried to hire drummers or to keep time, and it ain't pretty when it's
no. As a matter of fact, it can become a disaster. I'll give you a more recent one. This is prior to COVID-19. Is that we had this drummer just kept speeding up. He got faster and faster on every tune. I'm all saying, I don't think this guy should be our drummer most of the time. every tune kept speeding up. I couldn't figure out what was going on, so we just tried to deal with it.
This is not in our group. I want to give a little background.
No, I was sitting in. That's for sure.
Ken undercredits himself when he came out of college and worked himself as a single pianist, and we're talking about in a zoot suit playing a 7-footer at the hotels. Ken is one of the few people, and I can speak from experience that I've run into, especially of his age and generation, that can what they call play the book, which is mean every jazz tune that anybody's ever played from 1950 back to 1930.
Hey, way to go. I like that.
And, I'll tell you, if he doesn't know it off the top of his head, he's got a folder of it over there straight to his left.
I'm just always interested in more music. If you want to put it in a nutshell, I could go on.
And then so he graduated from that into playing trios and quartets, playing jazz, and he had a couple very high-end teachers whose names won't be recognized by anyone because they were such technical high-end guys. But he got some very good instructions both on drums and pianos, and he's such a modest guy. He doesn't.
We're just trying to play something.
He doesn't tell one band that he's playing with the other band. That's why nobody knows who he is. They don't even know. Hey, they know that he's coming over to a studio, but they have no idea what we're doing over here. So
Kenny, did you need one of those fake books, or were you pretty good at taking requests if they wanted to throw out I want to hear that. I want to hear Fly Me to the Moon.
To be fair with that part of it, and then different guys like let's say Bill Evans, for example, he said keys didn't bother him. Well, they bother me, especially if I don't know what key that somebody's going to be in. Let's say we have like a singer or a horn player, and they want to be more exact. At least tell me what key we're going to start in.
Well, it's funny with many singers don't know what key they're singing in. They're singers.
I just always tried to be ready. That's the thing. If you're not ready, then you're still not ready. That's the problem. If you're ready and understand what you're going to be kind of going at or what you're doing, then it makes it so much easier.
You got to put that on a T-shirt. Whatever you said there. If you're not ready, you're still not ready. That's I like that.
Put it on a T-shirt. That's right. And then on the back of it, we'll put down, whatever, whatever message.
Wherever you go, there you are. Or
listen or go away or something. Whatever. Yeah.
Some of us are wise and some of us are otherwise. Something.
Yeah. There it is.
Yeah. Well,
go ahead, Doctor. You were talking about something just now, and I cut you off.
That was all right.
He had an idea.
I was just going to fill in the story. Not only does he play all that stuff, but he's actually somewhat of a musical historian.
No, wait a minute. This is when he was talking about me now. Hold on.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm back.
Okay, everybody step back and listen.
I'm talking about Ken for him.
Okay.
he's a bit of a musical historian. He knows who played with who, what their who they played with as they grew up. Many jazz musicians, piano, and it doesn't matter the instruments. He'll tell you what their history was and what band they were before they were with that band and what band they were before. So listen to him and Tom Rossetti talk, and they both know everything back to the very beginnings of Motown and the very beginnings of Chess Records, and they're pulling out who's brother to who and cousin to who. And I'm stepping back out of the conversation, going, you know what? These guys have now blown me out of the conversation.
Half my interviews are going off on a tangent talking about different. I did that just the other day, but it's that's always a fun thing, and it's amazing to hear the knowledge. Yeah.
Hang out with Tom sometime when you're off camera, and then ask him about what it's like being with Randy, California, and Thin Lizzy when they're uptight in the southern states.
I'm gonna have to remember that part.
yeah. Write that down. Take that as a footnote. Because
Randy, California, and then and all the Thin Lizzy guys. I guess.
Thin Lizzy guys as a group. He did a leg of their tour, and he said that it wasn't a picnic. Let's say.
Pretty rowdy in the 80s.
In the 70s and the 80s.
All I know is the pictures he shows me sometimes. I guess he and Phil and all those guys from Thin Lizzy. Yeah, but
Phil and Not, sure.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's see.
They're really there's some great guys when they stay more straight, but sometimes you got to keep an eye on them. They go a little tipsy.
Well, rock and roll.
Rock and roll gets you satisfied. So yes, sir.
Let's see here. I Still Love You So. We talked a tiny bit about that. So that had some success. I'm thinking of playing that one. Any background on that? How that was written? What inspired you to write something like that?
Oh, well, I think it pretty much came from the first line of the tune because I don't know. I was just kind of hanging around the studio on like a early fog, rainy evening, and I came up with the line first thing in the morning. Well, I got dropped off, and I was thinking about a story I heard about Jimi Hendrix getting dropped off the Little Richard tour on the edge of some southern city,
podunk town,
and they dropped him off. Well, I got dropped off, and then somewhere downtown, and then it just seemed like the rest of it just kind of rolled out from there. So you start from nothing, and you just try to build forward with something more positive as you go. Because so writing a new song, you change it up, you're gonna do something different. You're gonna go forward.
This is basically this happened a lot back in those days. If, you had a beef with the band, the head of the band, they would just literally drop you off the bus and leave.
No, they weren't your friends. That's right, exactly. So that was the idea.
So it started from that, and then turned on to, well, what would you do? Well, I'm going to write a new song that's not too long.
Right.
I'm quoting from the song.
Exactly.
The song that has something to say, something for the month of May.
Month of May.
And here we've come a full year, and by the time we're broadcasting, it's going to be month of May again.
May again.
The song is
exactly. So we didn't know. We didn't know it was going to be.
That's when we released it. Was last year in May. Yeah. And so we put visuals behind it of him at a bus stop playing a piano in the rain in black and white, in a 10-year-old dreary Sacramento bus stop scene, and just let that carry, and then change that into curtains and background and him playing piano, and let that carry for the video.
I kind of feel like myself that it's a piece of positivity and. What we know and recognize around here, Americana, let's say, or local scene. We've got 1950s vehicles and older settings mixed in with new skyscapes and
the tune comes from sort of an Otis Redding R&B, sitting by the dock of the bay spot anyway. And this is one of the tunes that just the two of us are on, so it's not big instrumental.
No,
it's got guitar, organ, piano, bass, and drums, and you're done.
It's the basics.
It's a very, very basic tune, and but very enjoy. One of those tunes that's over, and you're like, did I play that? Play it again.
Yeah, play it again.
There was a bridge, but we had to delete it because he wanted to vamp and play the guitar on the way out. Oh, so I had to go with that. So we deleted the bridge. Maybe we'll hear that sometime.
Well, how many bars was the bridge? 10? 10, 16?
Maybe like 8, 10 bars. It was a quick one.
I told him, producer's discretion. The blues is so good, you don't need a bridge in this song, man. All you need is somebody to play like play like BB King on the out of it, and you're done.
On this tune, based off what it's done, I think he was right. So it was a good investment and a good ideal.
Nobody believes. So if anybody listens, I still love you. So listen to the guitar solo at the end and tell me it's not a guitar.
Yeah, there it is. It's
as a matter of fact, thank you, Thomas. He said over his entire lifespan, he has never not been able to identify somebody trying to emulate guitar on a keyboard, and he said he couldn't. He had to see me, which is why I video everything I do. By ear, there's just no way that you can tell.
No, I've listened to this album that I was referring to earlier, and that's there are many tracks where you wouldn't know that that's what's going on. You would swear.
No. You would think it was just. Yeah, you would think it was a conventional guitarist.
Absolutely, yeah, and with different effects on it, and it sounds like Clapton in one, sounds like Richie Blackmore, as you were saying.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I'm a big Jeff Beck fan, and John
there you go. Yeah,
Carlos, and that's what I did too.
Jimi Hendrix
playing guitar took me back through guitar and listening to all those guys. Listen to the heck out of Gary Moore. Listen to the heck out of BB King, all the Kings.
Albert King.
And adapted my keyboard playing style to fit with that.
Buddy guy.
Approaching the note, because I'd always wanted to get in between the notes, the thing that pianos won't do. And here came this crazy plug-in from Russia that actually was pre-recorded sounds from a Stratocaster or a Les Paul. Yeah. And I can change guitars in mid-performance, and I never go out of tune.
What were you using on there? What brand? A Korg, a Yamaha? What you have?
Actually, any controller will run it, because actually it's a plug-in that runs in in Logic Audio or any software plug-in.
Okay,
so it's plugged in like a software instrument. With the one difference being is they give you no presets. They just give you 40 controls over the hand: strum, pitch, mute, harmonics, etc., etc., etc. And you have to figure out what notes or buttons you want those effects to occur on, and then teach yourself to work those with one hand while you're playing with the other hand. So there's nothing funnier than watching a keyboard player sit down on my rig thinking it's a guitar patch, which it's not at all. Yeah. One half of the keys are strings. The other half of the keys are strummers and muters and violiners, and I can everything that a right hand would do on a left hand. So it took me about a year to figure out what notes and what effects to put on what buttons. But now it's been 10 years. My left hand just goes off. I don't have to think about it anymore. Yeah. And I purposely put up a bunch of Jeff Beck songs and very difficult guitar songs that guitar players wouldn't copy on YouTube, to do it with keyboards, just to blow people's minds, and I would get like, oh, he's faking it, and I'm like, oh God, I'm going to have to do overhead shots of this to prove to people. I finally gave up on it in that direction and just went, you know what, I'm just going to play some really great guitar, and if they like it, it don't matter to me, as long as they like what they think it is. As long as the audience accepts it, goes, that's a great guitar sound. Okay.
Well, I can respect this. Any kind of instrument that's unconventional. Even like a, I don't know if you can play a theremin or what. Things like, there's all kinds of crazy things out there that only certain people have taken to, because not everybody plays these things. Not everybody play a keytar. Except you see a lot in the '80s with some of those
playing funky synthesizer stuff mostly. Yeah.
Even Donald Fagen drags one out for his concerts sometimes. So that's weird.
I like the keytar myself. I think it's cool. If you want to see a guy and he's got it wired up so he can walk around and do something with it, well, why not? Yeah. That's a different part of the show or the concert, and that's a great thing.
Yeah, you get up and walk around and do a little stage presence.
Yeah, give you some mobility and some energy, I think it's great.
I just love the fact of having harmonics. The thing even makes accidental harmonics, where some chord runs into another chord and produces a third chord like a guitar would. And my amps are also plug-ins, and since as an audio engineer for 40 years, I know everything about every amplifier that there is out there. So I get to choose my circuitry, I get to choose my speaker cabinet, the types of speakers, the mic placement of the speaker cabinet, the distance of the walls, and it's all saved on my laptop. And all I got to do is open up main stage and hit Stratocaster number 1, and boy, there's my room, my reverb, my kick, my pedals. everything's ready to roll at that point. That's what I said. It makes guitar players a little jealous because they sound different in every room, and they're struggling with their amp tone to get the right amount of feedback and the right amount of sustain, and without being too loud. Well, with my rig, there isn't any of that. It all happens inside the Macintosh laptop, and I get the same sustain and the same feedback, whether I'm in headphones or in a 5,000-seater stadium. So it's a tremendous advantage for that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But, it is quite a commitment in terms of learning it. And it really wasn't designed to be played in real time when the company, which I should give them a shout out, Hey Music Lab.
Yeah.
Remember, I endorse you. Send me new version 6.
That's the way to do it, right? Yeah. Well, it sounds like there is some action in that keyboard, though. It seems to do what you want it to.
Yeah, I have it wired up for aftertouch, so I can press hard on the keys, and that will make the strings vibrate. Basically, do the same thing a whammy bar will.
Yeah.
And then I have a pitch bend not just set for one note, because that's the way they do it with the cheap little synthesizers. Since I have perfect pitch, I have my pitch bend set anywhere between 7 notes in an octave, so I can do the whole Jimi Hendrix up and down the neck thing, and that's not something that you can do with a bender bar on
anything,
on a keytar. Yeah, yeah, or on anything mostly. So it just gives me a tremendous freedom on color and tone, and like I say, Michael Spears has passed, and I took over the guitar duties on this album. And we switch off. Sometimes there's songs Kenny's playing drums and I'm playing drums. I also play bass, so sometimes when it's just "I Still Love You So" is just the two of us, for instance. We get into the more complicated songs with the horn sections, and we have our good friend and professional Baron Chase play bass, because he's the real thing, and he's played with Lester Chambers and Michael Walden and a number of people. Mm. I should give a shout out to our saxophone player who's on 3 of the songs. His name is Richard Howell, and he has played with Etta James and Chaka Khan and Aretha Franklin, to name a few.
And Earth, Wind and Fire.
And he's been in the business as a solo jazz saxophone player for 30 years, and he's actually got his own following in Germany and tours over there constantly. Well, so when we're lucky enough to have him, he's our guy on the record, and he's our horn section leader. So shout out to Richard.
Sounds great. Chairman, I'd like to talk about that. Why don't we start from start to finish? Tell me how you conceived that, and go songwriting and producing it and all that stuff, because it sounds like this is the word of the day here. You got some buzz going now with this one. True?
Yeah, Chairman. Part of it is we're trying to remain, of course, somewhat apolitical. At the same time, once we decided on the image of the chairman that you'll see in the video, of the guy at the suit with the empty desk who's not really doing anything except enjoying his cigar. And occasional
that part was me. See, I got that part down. Yeah, that should be every day, by the way.
And then I said, well, let's go high comedy with this. Let's put you in the office. We'll green screen the whole giant, like you're the president or whatever.
Nothing. Sort of like the fat cat everybody likes to.
Nothing is real. The whole thing.
The billionaire everybody loves to hate. Let's go ahead and play that guy. And I said, Kenny, what do I do? He says, what do I got to do? And I said, you got to do nothing. Just occasionally smoke your cigar, have a shot when you feel like it, and in the middle of the second chorus, turn with the rest of the chorus and sing "Give Us One Chairman."
No, that's my real acting debut. I'm taking it very serious. I will let everybody know that much.
My idea was people's attention spans are so short these days. I mean, with Instagram and TikTok being 8 seconds long, I'm thinking, how can I get them to listen to the music? So I got this guy shot in 4K, and you're staring at it, and you're wondering, first of all, is it a painting? Or is that a guy in an office? And then when he turns and moves, and smokes a cigar.
Yeah, I'm just kind of sitting there, for a little bit.
Incidentally, the cigar smoke is all CGI. I had to put in there because we can't smoke cigars in the studio.
Yeah, everything was drawn in.
That was
the only thing
you can't do what you want, even in a private production that you're doing there.
No, exactly.
So I got other clients that are allergic.
The only thing real in the video is the me
glass?
sitting in a chair in a suit. The glass, the
snifter
thing,
and
the ashtray, and the cigar, but it wasn't lit. We drew all the smoke and the ambers in later.
Yeah,
everything else was a total fake.
That was a real job. But so
we got the library and the desk and the lamps and all the additional stuff.
Everybody's looking
Cinema
at
magic. That's what they call it.
Yeah.
So at this point, you're a minute and a half in, and you're looking at the tune and these turns. So now you know that it's a movie that you're watching, and something's going to happen. And he just stays and plays it cool throughout the entire thing. Which, of course, what are you doing? You're listening to the music from the beginning of the song to the end of the song. Even though
that's all you're doing,
you're waiting for something to happen, it's never going to happen. So it's a little high art trick that I pulled. And I'll tell you what, the first time that anybody mentioned it back to me in that regard, because I was kind of waiting to see if anybody would notice it, that was the effect, was Tom Mazzetta, who on first play I said, I see exactly what you're doing there. Everybody's sitting there waiting it for happen. Before they know it, they listen to the whole 3-minute song. I'd go listen to it again, and while I'm watching the movie, I go, okay, you got it. That was my intention.
Yeah, pulled them in. That's what you did.
Yeah, make them use their ears.
Trying to make it subtle. There it is. Yeah.
The chairman does not take reservations. The chairman does not work 9 to 5. The chairman does not like procrastination. The chairman does not take any jive. Chairman. The chairman does not waste any time. The chairman leads the house of supervision. The chairman does not wait in the line. Chairman. Chairman. Wants to. The chairman does not take any bribe. The chairman does not like split decisions. The chairman has to fight to stay alive. Chairman.
That's great. Yeah, glad it's working out. You don't sound like you're showing any signs of stopping, though. There's probably more down the pike, I suppose. Yeah.
Well, we have 2 other songs that we can say. We have 3 other songs, possibly 4, but 2 for sure that are absolutely straight up the alley of 2 others that have made it. So I don't know. It's too much to ask for generally 2 in a row, let alone 3 in a row, let alone 4 in a row. If Chairman continues to go over and bless us if we get a little help with it, since we've done all our publishing's in place, all our libraries in place, all our websites in place, our sales are in place. We're a pretty ripe plum for a distribution deal, which is kind of what we're trolling for, since Ken has basically foot the bill for this entire project. And
I signed a lot of checks.
and so we're a self-made deal, but there we are yet on the charts. So we're thinking, maybe some accountant might notice that we're doing things with a few less zeros that they're doing with their artists, and here we sit in the same place.
Easy, don't give them any ideas. You never know what you're revealing.
Yeah. Well, we'd like to have an art department. I turned into that, and we needed a radio agent till we found Tom, so I turned into that for I Still Love You So. And so I ended up filling the COVID years sitting here doing paperwork and more paperwork and more paperwork and publishing out all 7 albums and bringing in Music Match so all the lyrics come up with everything on everybody's iPhones and all the pictures look good, and making sure wherever you find us we have a top-notch 4K presentation.
So everything is right there on the website.
Of the project.
KennethRoyMusic.com.
KennethRoyMusic.com. A lot of serendipitous with you guys. I mean, did you ever think you'd be doing this stuff today like you are? Did you always have that in your mind?
I'll let him answer that. Because I had no idea where we're going. I just knew it was going to keep changing. That's what.
Yeah, we started with him. Me teaching him how to save his synthesizer stuff, and then I started hearing how many songs this guy had, and listening to his voice. And the producer part of me was saying, this guy's kind of got one of those broadcast voices that goes through everything, kind of like a Don Henley or that perfect pop mid-range voice that does not need a lot of processing and sings in tune, doesn't need auto-tune. So,
wow, are you hearing this, Kenny? Wow.
Yeah, I hear that.
That's
so he was working at another
He also tells me the days that I'm off kilter a little bit and I'm flat, and then you got sinuses or you're too congested. You want to come back tomorrow and
that'll clear up.
We'll start all over again. I'm fine. I'm fine with that too. At least it's
Mr.
honest.
Perfect Pitch. He's telling you better listen to him, I think.
Yeah, that way we don't waste any time, because you don't want to mess up wasting time.
I'm terrible. I just pull out the note. See the word go is the letter E. Okay, bring that all the way up to E. You're about 30 cents short.
Well, the other interesting thing that we had talked about earlier this week, I remember one time he woke me up at 4 a.m. because we had to hurry up and cut the lead vocal track so we could get out of there by 6 or 7 a.m. And that was our final say back in the old days.
Yeah, well, we would block time out. So, you would buy the studio time, buy it by blocks of 24 hours. So we would run sometimes 40 hours on a session.
Yeah, and I would be exhausted because I was playing drums and percussion in the afternoon, and
that's kind of how.
And then you come back and then you just try to get like a half cat nap, and then hey, by the way, hit it, lead vocals.
Yeah, get a little warm fluid in there. And
so there it is. You got to be ready. You got to be on your toes all the time.
No, Kenny gave me the opportunity to look through all of his songs and listen to them. And as a producer, I know right away when I hear something that I either hear what can be done to it or what it could be right off the bat. And if I don't, I generally don't go there. And that's how I work as a producer. And he had literally hundreds of songs. It was crazy at first. And so with the first album, with each album, I became more and more picky with it, drilled down more and more in the songs. On this album, I really, really got into these 8. I even picked a couple of songs Kenny wouldn't even think was going to be in the running.
No, I didn't even think there was.
I heard something in the songs. One of them, which is one of the few rock songs.
We changed the keys here and there, or I messed up the key. I can't even remember. Well, and then he wanted one of those lead spots in there, and we had to change that around too. But we got across it. Maybe a bridge might have got deleted on one of them. I can't remember. But that's okay.
Kenny's a stickler for keys, and I had to tell him through experience that this is something that you wrote when you were 17 years old. When you're 47, you may not want to hear that line. We should probably consider maybe writing it a couple keys down, where if you have to sing it every night, you won't tear your brains out, because guarantee it will happen.
Did he heed that advice or not? I mean, It'd be
in most cases, the longer we went on, the more he heated it. As this album, he was fully, like I say, he let me tear a bridge out of a song on this album, which was cutting off somebody's arm. This man,
it was painstaking.
He's attached to his music.
I wanted to keep the bridge in there, but he cut the bridge, and I understand why we cut the bridge. Or we wouldn't have had a keytar lead guitar solo on the way out,
and we'd have
so we could fade it and make a nice video at the end. So that's how that went.
Well, like I say, it's probably history, since earlier he admitted for the first time that I may have been right. So,
very good.
Yeah, because it won the Independent Music Network Award. So how can I complain about that? The Outbreak Artist or whatever they gave us was wonderful.
Breakout single.
We feel good about that. Sure.
So we're back up there in their top 10 right now with Chairman. Chairman is also in the top 10 in the Hot AC for national radio hits.
That's great. Yes.
And in the vote only and the most increased. UK is still playing I Still Love You So.
EU.
Or the EU, rather. Well, both EU and UK.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I got an email, Facebook from a gentleman at a station in England asking me, well, which campaign are we running? And I had to give him the explanation. He is, well, we wanted to go with Chairman.
We have two singles going at the same time. But the problem is the EU, UK people can play, because they have the whole albums. They can play whatever one that they want. So he says, well, I like that I Still Love You So tune, but I might just go ahead and play the Chairman because I like that better. Or remind him of the old days when you flipped over a Beatle record or Michael Jackson or something in a 45 vinyl record. There's two hits on the same thing. So he said, I'm just going to play the one I like, or play more of one or less of the other, but that's a good thing.
Basically, it had caused a schism, and since he had gotten a note from management that the European side was supposed to, really put the juice into I Still Love You So, since they wanted to keep the momentum up that we had from the number ones here and all the play that it had in the United States. Where I suppose the United States was really done with that tune unless we were going to jump into Billboard by a huge investment into that tune, and we wanted to play the title track. But this particular gentleman on his station...
that's totally on this individual.
He wanted to play Chairman, even though he was instructed to play the other two.
He wanted to play what he wanted to play.
He wrote us directly.
Or he was going to play both.
I gave him the same answer I gave you. Thanks for listening. Play either song. If you want to play Chairman better, then that's fine. That's live in the United States campaign right now. It's just the UK wanted to go on with I Still Love You So, which I'm wonderful with. It's getting lots of play, and Spotify's and Apple's are coming up on it. And it is truly a wonderful, simple song. Just Chairman's just the whole other side of the band. We got the 6-piece horn section, we got the percussionists, we got multiple vocals and backing tracks, high-end production, very Steely Dan type situation, big band situation. So they're really flip sides of each other. So it's odd having them both airing on either side of the pond, as they say.
Yeah.
And I can see how it can cause some confusion. Of course, we just want everybody to listen to everything, because we don't think that there's a bad song on there.
No, there's no bad songs on there.
Truly, even the very last song, Song 10, which features our saxophone player, Richard Howe, which is
Close Enough to Know.
Close Enough to Know, which is sort of an R&B / gospel song. I think we'll be hearing some of that at some point. I think there's no way. It sounds like the Saturday Night Live band.
Yeah, and Our Level Last. That's the other one.
And it really kicks. Yeah.
At the end,
is this all being rolled into an album then? This all?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It all came from an album.
We are by nature album-oriented artists, but of course that doesn't really exist today in today's market.
I asked that because it seems like Chairman and I Still Love You So, or non-album singles, you would think, because that's correct. The way it is nowadays. Yeah.
Well, I got dropped off somewhere downtown. I believe it was raining. Water was soaking the ground. I know I can make it. That's one thing I know. I still love you so. I still love you so. brand new song, one that won't play too long, a song that has truth to say, true in the month of May. I know I can do it. There's one thing I know, I still love you so. I still love you so. Somewhere there's music, yeah, somewhere deep in the soul, something that makes you thrive, keeps all your dreams alive, and you got to try it. There's one place to go, I still love you so. I still love you so. Yeah, I still love you so. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I still love you so. I still love you so.
But well,
Yeah.
anyway, what I used as a
Yeah, we were
model,
forced
and it was hard to convince Daniel this, what order. He says, well, we got all this stuff, we're going to do it. So we chose Chairman because it's the shortest name of all the individual songs, is one word.
Plus the image.
And
the
then I
title
wanted
track.
to do, I don't know, you might remember Joe Jackson, Night and Day, and from
Yes.
1982. He had a night side first and a day side. Of course, Night
true.
and Day, the famous tune by Cole Porter.
We
So
missed-
that's how this album is set up. If you pay attention, the first 5 songs are the night side, and track 6 through 10 is more of the day side.
we missed B-sides. So really the CD is set up like an album, but of course every single service splits it up as singles. So here we have our two most opposite songs playing at the same time, both busting out as singles.
Well, it was the only way we could get a logical order of things too. So it was
So,
difficult, and what to call it.
We couldn't
And so,
control
couldn't figure it out at first.
Well,
Joe Jackson reference was a good one because it was always fun to take that record and you flip it over and then there's a whole new experience. You know.
Yeah. And it was like stylistically variated, which is kind of where we are at.
we've
in
done
terms
that
of,
too, but we can't control
multi-groups,
playlists or algorithms.
a lot of
so
things. You know, we play
what
like
do you do?
a rock and roll band. You play like a pop band, a blues band, a soul band, a Latin jazz band, whatever it is that we need to play like.
Yeah,
We try to do that.
it's tough. That's why we still try to sell physical product, buy the CD. We actually have a credit card. It looks
USB,
exactly like
yes.
a credit card, but what it really is a little USB 2 drive that'll fit in any standard USB-A that every computer's had for 10 years.
Sure.
And it has all the 24-bit songs on it, and it has it in AC, AAC for your Apple devices.
Okay.
It also has the
So
movie.
it still has a good quality to it then. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
Studio quality. So you get a set of the 24-bit files. You get a 4K album cover. You actually get all the lyrics at a size that you can read with credits you can read. Put in a nice PDF and 2 gigs of free space to put more of your favorite music on.
Free memory.
And in most
I could always use more memory.
Yeah,
right.
definitely.
So
And then, of course, the CDs are available. So, there we are.
yeah, all that physical stuff's available on the website. Even though most people, will go with their algorithm.
Well, I
But
got a question for you guys. Either one of you could answer this because you were talking about, when people are trying to get their albums, I mean, not their albums, but their songs to chart. Can you explain the importance of a good campaign when it comes to that? Because otherwise you may not even hear these songs, or they wouldn't chart at all, right?
You know, you know what I think I'm going to do? I think I'm going to let Daniel talk about it first, and then I'll try to add on.
Okay.
It's a difficult and complicated question what you just asked, especially since we're not only in an industry that's been moving radically in different directions for the last 2 decades, but is now still ever more moving radically into turning into something else. And we've also, now that everything is video, we have to incorporate fashion and entertainment along with music in many cases. Mm-hmm. I call those the two evil sisters.
Yeah, well, that's been going on since music videos in 1981 or whatever.
Day one.
The official MTV demarcation line there, but
right.
They were doing that stuff way before that, but all of a sudden it became necessary to have a video to go with your song.
That's right.
Yeah,
this is part of the answer. So we have a lot of these bands, and I'm not putting anybody down because I think everybody should enjoy their music and have their friends enjoy their music, because I think music at all levels is good for the mind, the soul, and the spirit, and the cosmos. That being said, you got the guys that played at the same bar every night for 30 years, and we like to call them the weekend warriors because they have straight gigs. They call themselves professional musicians, but they're not professional in the sense that they support themselves by their music.
Right.
Those of us that do that make that a great distinction, because you know what it takes to support yourself by your music, especially in this day and age. It takes quite a bit of effort. So really, you have to do a number of things. You really do need to find somebody sort of like myself that has the background, that knows that you need to get a songwriter number. You need to know all the ins and outs of publishing your song correctly, getting it to BMI, getting it to Sound Exchange, getting it to a number of services, getting it to the services that will sync your lyrics, getting it on the streaming services. Once you've got those pieces in place, and of course that brings on, you can't publish a song without having a video. So you're going to have some money in your pocket. And this is what separates, the weekly players from the people trying to make studio records. You've got to really come in the studio and spend a lot of time. People find that their instruments don't sound as good as they think they do when they're in the studio. Drummers, I never heard my kit rattle like that before. Yeah, well, you're not going to in the bar. Tuning also becomes hyper tuned in the studio, because nothing is ever missed. Where in the bar everybody's drinking, you're yelling away, you don't have a chance. So you really
the microphones don't lie. Let's say that much.
You have to do a lot of commitment, paper preparation, all the things that you don't do when you learn the set with your buddies, and it's not fun. It's a job. You have to commit. As a rule, with students, I don't even hardly take I don't take adult students anymore, because frankly, they don't have the time and their brain, to get the muscle, whether it be training for football, whatever. Stuff has to start at an early age while the mind has plasticity, so that you get the connection between physical and thought. You got to be real fast at this stuff. You got to have your hands have got to be wired. So, mom told you if you just went and got your law degree or your dentistry degree, and by the time you were 45, you could retire and then do your music. Well, mom was wrong.
Sorry, Mom.
Work that way. Sorry about that, Mom. But, you needed to start at 4 or 5 and then just, keep your head down. And once again, I don't ever discourage anybody from doing their individual thing. But the music business itself has just really turned into a very multi-pronged beast now, whether you can present yourself as fashion, as some people can do that. It's getting much, much harder for people like yourself or ourselves, singer-songwriters, unless you're paired with a major act and you're writing for them. Doing what we're doing is rather unheard of. I mean, the last act that kind of did what we're doing is Steely Dan, but they started 40 years ago.
Yeah.
50.
We hoping
Dare
to be
I say I almost compared you guys to that because one you could function separately, but it seems like as a team, you do very well for each other. You sort of play off each other's energy. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you very much, sir. That's
so you might have been the first person to really recognize that and actually say it. So that's really a nice compliment.
We appreciate that too.
Yeah. We hope our audience is out there to understand us, because the music is for them, and we, especially on this album, we made it a feast of if you've got good headphones or a good system, you're going to hear things in the front, in the back, and the sides. We did some very tricky mixing with the thing.
Okay.
And it took several years to get all the mixing done properly, and it was done all on front end analog gear and then taken to digital, because just like Steely Dan, we're kind of stuck old school. We like a lot of old tube gear in the front end, old microphones, preamps. Then we take it to the computer and manipulate from that point out and go to mastering. But it's the audio quality is beautiful, and
but as source, the analog source gives it a warmth, I think, that you need in there as well.
That's what we're looking for.
Absolutely.
We want the warmth, exactly.
Yeah.
And
even Roger Nichols, that famous engineer for
Roger, sure.
Yeah, Roger. Even he understood both sides. He could appreciate the digital when it came through, but
right.
Exactly. I think if you have the talent to process all that and turn it into something that's pleasing to the ears. Especially
a lot of people don't talk about, when you say Roger Nichols, they don't talk a lot about Gary Katz. Now, on their projects, he had a lot to do with it as well. And these are pioneers.
I got to talk to Gary a long time ago. He's a man of a few words, but when he's got some opinions, but
I bet.
He talked very at the time Roger had just passed away, so that was we were talking a little bit about him and all that stuff. But that's one guy I would have loved to have talked to. He sounds like he was
I did a Sony presentation with their Sony 1-bit at the NAMM show in the late 90s, when they were still trying to figure out how to make a good mastering machine digitally. And I was a side guest along with Roger Nichols on that show. I used to do a lot of AES and NAMM presentations for different companies, Waves and Acoustic Solutions. That was my side gig, and as a user of their projects, it was an easy thing for me to demo. So I was down there. I think my first NAMM show I debuted the Moog Liberation.
Late 90s.
Really?
1974.
Oh, 74.
Wow.
So that was here's the funny thing.
One.
That was the first, guitar keyboard ever built by anyone. I never put the two things together, until many years later.
Even in 74, those things are a sensation. There was a craving for that kind of thing back then too.
There was.
Yeah, absolutely.
That new crazy sound. Yeah.
The switches were toggle switches. That thing weighed a ton. It was really a piece of work.
Yeah, not so much NAMM. I mean, everybody seems to know, but AES. Yeah, you probably dealt with some heavy hitters. Some serious people when you're over there.
Yeah, we've got to meet a lot of people, a lot of the inventors of the digital reverb algorithms. I know that the guys that invented sound design and sold that off to Avid. I worked as a developer with EMU. I don't know if you're familiar with the Emulator. It was the first sampling, sequencing piano where you could record any sound. Ferris Bueller's Day Off is its most famous reference.
Didn't Stevie Wonder have something set up like that? He
did, but he had the expensive one. That was the
expensive one, yeah.
And that was $100,000 for this.
Holy
so
mackerel.
The Emulator was the first affordable one at $10,900. And I had a client that bought one, and I ended up doing 20 minutes of a soundtrack on The Color Purple with Quincy Jones on the thing.
Very nice.
They were pressed for time. I was working with Bill Summers, who was working with Herbie Hancock at the time, and Quincy calls up because Bill had done Roots, 2 years previously with Quincy Jones, and he said, "We've got this scene. I got Paulino da Costa down here, and a bunch of other professionals, Harvey Mason." I'm sorry, it was 85, so forgive me if I forget the names, but they were all top-end professionals. But they had a scene that went from 70 BPM, which to our listeners is very, very slow, your resting heartbeat. to 240 beats PM, which is almost like a drum roll.
Frantic pace.
And it did that in 4 minutes. And they were trying to overdub it with 6 guys and sound like 30 guys. And they just could not get it. And so they put out a desperate call. And I had the first commercially released emulator because I worked with them in beta testing. So I had convinced Bill to record his African instruments on it. And he was the inventor of ethnomusicology as a term back in the day. He was the one that created that and started that whole college course. So we already had his instruments corrected. We called Q. We said we're bringing down a huge box of 8-inch floppies because nobody knew what the hell we were talking about. Flew down this giant emulator, plugged it in, and I had already had Bill play 100 different traditional African patterns into the emulator. So the patterns were already on floppy. Sat down with Quincy and said, okay, which ones do you like? This one here? And he would just start calling them out. Oh, yeah, okay, number 11, do that for 4 bars. Number 77, do that for a bar, then change over to 33 for 2 bars. So I would edit that whole thing out and program it in. And I had a device called a Dr. Click, which was fairly innovative of those days, which would take the timing track off the film, turn it into a MIDI click, and the 2 machines would lock to each other. So as the film sped up, the song sped up exactly with it in time.
That's good.
And I ended up replacing all 8 drummers on there. And the engineer was, speaking of famous people, so Bruce Botnick, who did The Doors, and
Kenny Loggins,
and more people than I can name. At one point, he looked at me and said, I understand you're also an audio engineer. And I said, yeah. And he said, good. Do you know Quad 8s? And I said, yeah, I worked on Quad 8 before. We were at Paramount Studio 1, set up for the orchestra. Huge control room, 50 by 50. And he says, oh, that's good. I'm going to lunch. You're on now. You want to step up here and take care of the session? So I found myself engineering the last half of the session. We had 20 young bucks in there on this Quincy session, and he exuded so much calmness and respect. You know, you generally get 21 guys in there like on a football team. Everybody's competing with everybody because everybody's wasn't specialists. But we were all in such awe of Quincy that it was dead silent in the back of the room. And we were all in our chairs like this. And I said, okay, well, who's the best for this and this? And instead of everybody running up and fighting with each other, it was more like everybody took a step back and there would be one guy standing out there. That'd be the guy, and the rest of us would all go sit down very politely and wait for the next thing. An incredible experience working with the man. They were short on time. They called me back the next week because they already had the date for the showing of the movie, and they were still adding sound effects. I came back a week later and added elephants in the grass and all this sorts of fun stuff. But boy, did I have 2 fun weeks in Hollywood. And shot
you get to hang out with Quincy, you know, that was
started playing Mike Vaquero's parts on Bad. I had a shot with I'm sorry, it's all over Netflix. Peter Weir's movie, Mosquito Coast. That was late 80s before I came back up here. Not in an LA person, I'm a Northern California guy. You can't get me too far away from the forest. I start going into withdrawals.
You do.
On the other hand, this is the only place where I can't live and make a living. I got to go out, and just like our friend Richard's got to go to Germany 3 times a year to live in the San Francisco Bay Area. So
to pay those things that come in the mail, they're rectangular. They're called bills.
Oh, I've seen those. Yeah, no, I've seen too many of them.
Those rectangular things are called bills. They keep coming.
Area is very saturated with well-known made-it-retired bands. You know, the Starship, the Dead, Journey.
Oh, okay, everything up there. Yeah,
Carlos.
All these guys are our neighbors. Metallica.
Huey Lewis, right? Yeah.
They've never heard of us.
Miles.
How do we get through? And they're popping up at local clubs.
Tower Power. Great band.
We've
lots of great bands.
Struggle with that, although there's really nobody on the charts of
Sons of
the Northern Bay Area other than Bonnie Raitt. Bless her heart, but
Bonnie Raitt. That's right.
She's had everybody knows who Bonnie
Raitt.
But we're rather
respectively
isolationist in the studio, so they don't know us. With the exception of the last year, all of a sudden they see us all over the radio charts. So we've got lots of people asking us the same question that you're asking us. How come we didn't see about you guys, and now all of a sudden we're seeing charts from Europe, from New York,
and then who are you?
Nashville.
The next thing.
Who are you? Yeah. We thought we knew you.
Yeah.
So this is part of our introduction to the world.
I think that was one of the reasons I asked about that campaign type question, because sometimes you would think from the outside you would just be a consumer of this music, listening to it, and you think, oh, these guys just came out of nowhere. How'd that happen?
It kind of feels like that.
Sometimes,
it's funny.
Yeah, sometimes it's luck, and then other times it's you pushed it, right? You gave it a little push.
Right, yeah, exactly. We got little campaigns going here and there, and for the most part, I've been staying with about one song a year since 2017 from this album. And each song has just been building and building and building as we finished the album and released it.
But the algorithms, they do what they want. I'm riding along in my car listening to Apple Music 5G the other day with my open algorithm, letting Apple pick for me, and up comes this song, and it's about 3 dBs brighter than the last one, and the quality is really good, and I'm listening to the first bar, and like 2 bars, I'm going, oh, this is really familiar. I'm like, oh, it's Two of a Kind, it's our song. Oh, my. The algorithm just pull the dang thing.
Yeah, to settle the thing right in there. So, yeah.
We'd love to get on some playlists for some large companies or...
Now, we've been talking about playing on television. We'll see if we can do that. It'd be great to play on television live.
Yeah, see if we could secure
with a band.
Spot on Jimmy Fallon or something on the West Coast. I don't think we're quite ready for New York yet. I mean, although many of our players have been there, since we're such a self-contained thing, until we have a production company to help us with the logistics, as we should call it all.
Get in where you think you'll fit in. I think it's working.
Exactly.
You've got to try all the angles, right?
Your niche, your market, your finance, all the things that you need to address.
We have
personnel.
We have basically locked down an entire band for summer. So depending if we get the proper finance, we will go into tour mode, put a small tour together, start somewhere far away from where we live, bring it home, call in all our friends, bring in all my video gear and do a giant video shoot, television quality, and try and get a twofer out of it. Have the video to show and bring the local audience together in at a level so they can get to know us and really see us as a band.
And real live footage, of course.
Every day the sun shines bright in the blue sky. Every night the moon shines bright somewhere. It's not gonna take a long time to love you. All you have to do is say you care. Two of a kind. Everything is gonna be fine. Two of a kind. Two of a kind. Every single flower waits to bloom again. Every time I leave, I miss you so. Somewhere in my heart and mind, I think of you. And there's only one thing I want you to know. Two of a kind. Everything is gonna be fine. Two of a kind. Every day the sun shines bright in the blue sky. Every time I leave you, I miss you so. Oh, it never takes long for me to love again. And there's only one thing I want you to know. Two of a kind. It's gonna be fine. Two of a kind. Two of a kind. Two of a kind. Yeah, two of a kind. Two of a kind.
This is pretty cool. Kenny and I, and then along with the doctor, but I think we're fortunate to have grown up in a time where we've seen the classic, the older ways, and seen how as long as you can adapt with the newer ways, you still have a fighting chance out there. You don't want to be a relic.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
That's right. What works is what works for you, and you shouldn't try to be like anybody else necessarily. Of course, you can learn from everyone.
Yeah, you can learn from everything. The good and the bad, right? I mean, there it is. Whatever doesn't work, don't do that anymore, because you have to do it over again or find someone to help you or whatever.
See, I don't know if you're recording any of this stuff on those larger, the machines, like when you're talking about the large the tape that only holds about 15 to 30 minutes on it, and
2-inch machines, yes.
Yeah, the 2-inch yeah, exactly. Or even just instruments in themselves, because I remember we were talking about people from the past. I had interviewed Thomas Dolby not too long ago, and we were talking about, he remembers the Fairlight synthesizer, which is a huge machine, right?
Right.
And it cost a lot of money, and you couldn't put that. Yeah, you have to put that in the garage or something if you wanted to try.
No. It's more like that. You're talking the Synclavier period.
That was the $50,000 in between the 10,000 and the 100.
Yeah, and the bigger Emu and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Yeah, but just getting those things, it's like having a new toy. But you had to put out some money for that, because he was talking about
lots of money.
All his friends.
Yeah, lots of money. Because if you came home and somebody stole it out your living room or your garage or something, then you'd be like going, "Well, I got a big problem now. I have to call the company." Because I can't afford that, because that was special.
That was an Australian instrument also, which was part of the difficulty with it, but it was a great instrument in its time, and they put video facilities on it too. It could make some music video and effects as well as do music.
Yeah.
So hats off to the Fairchild guys. A very important part of musical history. Now, basically, everything's a sampler. All laptops, everybody's playing samplers, doing loops.
Yeah. Well, can you imagine somebody could take your phone and then hook up GarageBand, and there you go. You almost could create an entire
you could
album
swipe
off
it
of
right
that.
there.
Yeah.
But anyway, I like the original instruments. Like Elton John, he used the Mellotron and the Farfisa organ, and Stevie Wonder kind of pioneered the. This gentleman here, Mr. Dr. Ryman, he owns the D6 clavinet owner, which is original Superstition, funky clavinet, right? And then it replaced the guitar completely from that. So the early vintage keyboards are really, really cool, I think, in my opinion. I've always been fascinated with it.
I've talked to some people that play the clavinet, and they say, you can only use it in certain, you can't play it on every song with it. It has sort of a
it's a certain thing.
A funky feel, a real brassy, or not brassy, real brash.
It's like what they call a plectrum.
Yeah, it's
what the harpsichord was
like
based on.
A quill instrument.
Right.
Yeah. Clavichord, harpsichord.
But that was what makes it so funky.
That's what made it funky.
And if you can play it right, there are some very famous songs that are held up by clavinet, and
absolutely.
Nobody has the slightest idea.
Synclavier, you mentioned that one. That's another one that's just
that's a special thing. In the Fairlight.
Yeah,
and
I remember Hugo Montenegro. You know that guy? He had one of those Synclaviers early on, and I just loved hearing the way they. Was that
Jan Hammer?
Yeah, Jan Hammer. Oh yeah,
a lot of guys. Yeah, and the Synclavier thing, certainly the Pat Metheny group, Pat and Lyle, they had one each. Yeah. Then there's George Duke. He started pioneering the Wang bar thing and the whole stand-up walk-around thing that we were talking about earlier, the keytar.
Well, he did custom. He had the Dookie stick.
Either way, this stuff was pretty great, And then in the old days when we just started, electric keyboards were kind of rare to come by.
And expensive.
And so you either had to get there on keyboard if you're either on piano or on your, you're blessed enough to have an organ. Which is harder,
And I love B3s, but I could never bring myself to carry 1 and 2 Leslies around. But if there's 1 and 2 Leslies to be had, I'll be there. But interestingly enough, I now have that on my laptop, and I set up a stereo PA, and I actually have virtual Leslies, and I control the speeds and whether they're mic'd at the front or the back or what kind of mics they are. So my Leslie sound is completely believable live. People are looking around for the organ. I got a 12-pound Novation controller is what I use.
Wow.
Well, anyway, my point was just
it.
this: before we get too much on figuring out what this keytar is all about, because that's extensive, that's all day conversation. My point was that we couldn't go down to Costco and buy like a $250 Casio or something.
Right.
When we started, not only in my generation, but in this gentleman's generation, because it didn't exist. And
right. Yeah, you went down to Zodi's instead. Yeah.
Right. And electric instruments were impossible. You couldn't afford an electric piano or something that you could carry around, or a synthesizer. That was out of the question.
My first Fender Rhodes was such a big deal, you know. Actually, I had a Wurlitzer before the piano Rhodes.
The Wurlitzer.
The Wurlitzers were awful easy to break if you played them too hard, and very hard to replace the notes when they were broken. They literally had a solder at the end of the tine. And so if you start off with a big piece of solder and it's flat, then you would take a little chisel to it and keep it tuner.
Yeah, right.
keep dialing off.
So when the note breaks, then you, after you've cursed a few words.
Yeah, you have to repair it yourself. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to get out and put if you went too far, you'd have to apply some more solder and repeat process. But that was
and then they had the Fender Rhodes. Well, I thought one of the greatest days of my life was when I got my 88 key Fender Rhodes. My pops took me down. We bought a used one. But the problem was I loved playing it at home. But wait a minute, we got the stage band performance down over here at the shopping center. So you got to haul all this stuff around. And then, it took like 4 or 5 guys from the band, the bigger guys playing football and stuff, to help me set that thing up, because it was a beast, actually carrying around a real piano, a real piece of gear.
But still a valid instrument. Yeah. I mean, everybody still loves the stage piano sound. As a matter of fact, they're reissuing them as of this year.
Yeah, they're vintage, right?
Yeah,
but I didn't want to carry the big axe all the time, so now I play the 73, a little bit shorter.
Yeah,
less keys.
Or the Costco, the 61, what you get at Costco, I guess, maybe.
No, I don't play that one at all. Man, it's just really not enough acts. One thing we definitely like around studio, and at my place, we got twins. Daniel has one as well as me. We play Yamaha P200 piano.
Those are nice.
And it has a lot lot of stuff in it. Organ.
It's got actual piano action.
Real piano, electric piano, organ, bass. It's a lot of fun, let's say.
The program, the package that they have some great sounds that come out of that thing,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Just dial in what then you probably only have maybe 4 or 5 of your favorites, and then that's what you go to, right? Yeah.
And the keys are weighted, so it's cool. You feel like you're playing like a regular grand piano.
Yeah, if you have a good piano sound on it, it's easy to fool the brain. I can't, if I play a non-weighted instrument and put piano sound on it, even if it's good piano sound, my brain is like...
I'd have to agree. It's a fun instrument. There's no doubt
when they hit the higher registers, that's when it feels like a real piano to you,
Oh, yeah, definitely. No, and to me, because I do a lot of left-hand bass here and there with the comping chords and soloing and so forth, but it's just a really natural feeling piano. I would recommend it, especially if you're interested in technique and keeping your ability to play arpeggios and scales and compositions and so forth.
But it's not lightweight either. You're talking probably a good 100 pounds.
No. I wasn't saying carry the P200 around. I was saying something that stay at home
under your arm, right?
On it. Yeah, build your chops with it. Don't try to carry it around.
Look for the guy with one muscle bigger than the other. Bicep.
Yeah, exactly.
I take mine out every time because if I'm playing piano, I've got to have the weighted keys, so it's coming with me.
Yeah, but you need to get help and you need to get a dolly, so that way you'll stay even feel for the P200. Remember that, the Yamaha P200. Yes, sure.
Yamaha P200. This is good. Yeah. So, what was did the album have? Stupid question. Does the album have a name? All these songs that we were talking about earlier.
Well, Chairman.
Chairman is the name of the album as well.
Chairman is the main song, the main track, the name of the album, the name of the USB card.
I was looking for the best way, since no one had seen this gentleman or really was aware of his presence. So I was looking for a way through the cover, through the song, through the picture, to all steer it to Kenneth. So they got a good look at the Chairman, and it's a good reason, a way for me to film him. So that all came together that way, because we really didn't. We didn't have on his earlier album covers. They were all didn't have any pictures of him.
No, there were artworks. Exactly. Nobody knew what I looked like until about 2008. So that's kind of interesting.
On this record, it's time you're gonna. Well, the 2008 record, we have a caricature of him, so it was baby step. Now we're doing full glamour photo shoots and all kinds of crazy stuff, music videos. Yeah. So, we've had to give up.
Definitely check the videos. If you got something on your end to let them know about the video and where we are on platforms and things, that would be fantastic.
Hey, well, if I see the video, I'll feature it. Yeah, that'd be wonderful.
Okay, there we are.
That's great. Yeah. It's YouTube/Kenneth Roy, I believe.
Kenneth in his suit and tie and everything ready to.
Yeah. Dressed up with next to no place to go except that video that you're going to take.
The big expensive cigar and some virtual,
exactly.
And we'll let you decide if that's real smoke, just like we're deciding if the keytar is playing a real guitar or not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's real smoke and mirrors.
Don't mind the man behind the curtain.
Yeah. Speculate. We got a little bit of magic going on. Magic, hocus pocus. Yeah.
Well, that's what entertainment. That's the entertainment is in many ways. Anyway, you're putting on a show for everybody.
Yeah, it's a show. Exactly. It's a show.
Yes, it'll be interesting to see if we can if and when we get the live thing going. It should be some hot act, and we'd sure like to hook up with some openers for some of our elders, because I'm sure it's hard for them to find acts with the right musical genre.
More suitable. Let's say
start up for bands like Jim Messina or the slightly our elders touring bands that are out there now. So we're kind of looking into that gig too. But there's only two of us, and I'm still producing other stuff. As a matter of fact, we'll be cutting another interview here shortly. Now we pile the interviews on top of the regular stuff we do in the photo shoot.
That's right. That's per Tom, by the way.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you guys coming on and dealing with. I had to sort of shift gears here because I didn't have a lot of stuff to go on. So there, Tommy didn't.
Oh, okay.
All Tommy sent me was like a one sheet, and all it gave some credits and everything.
I appreciated that you just were able to just wing it and put some stuff down. That's going to be fantastic.
Well, that's kind of what the show has always been. But I always vowed to be a little bit more prepared in these cases. But you guys have been so great.
That didn't bother me none. I thought you asked some great questions.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Well, I'll tell you what, a staple of my show has always been, I'll ask you guys this in some way, but even the new and experienced musicians, we're all human and we can get in a funk every once in a while. It seems like that you've been able to roll with the times and then the weird events that come your way, and sort of, you would think that it's all been, roses and sunshine and kittens and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a time that might have stopped you momentarily and caused you to question how we keep going? The times can get tough.
Yeah. Well, I think I want to let Daniel start with answering that.
Yeah. Here we are. We have finally pushed this snowball up the hill, even though it took longer than a decade to do, and to get recognized, and to who are these guys, and to find our way through. I don't know if you've heard Hunter Thompson's quote about the music industry, but it's a long and shallow money hole where good men die like dogs and thieves run free. And then there's the negative side. So we've been kind of running the gamut as we've kind of running through all the people that realize that we are a commercial potential. We've had Kenny, however, I must say, is one of the most driven, functional people I think in the 2 decades. There was a session he missed because the bridge was down. But I mean, this guy does not miss a session. He hasn't missed a session for 20 years. Mm-hmm. And I mean, the degree of commitment is very high unless there's some kind of illness involved. And I was out for a couple of weeks in 2019, just pre-COVID. And then, of course, came COVID. But, we fought our way through rainstorms, floods, 120-degree temperatures, power outages.
Bridge closures, and, name it. Go ahead.
There's days, when my wife asks, are you guys all right? I heard a lot of yelling up there. And I'd say, oh, no, we were having a good time. Since we were in the studio shouting at each other.
Well, that was a good day.
Nobody else understands, Or we have some stuff going on that's really good. We've got nobody to share it with. But at the same time, we get the days where we're still unloading the van in rain. And since there's only 2 of us to get everything set up and then get our minds right to track. So, there are better and looser days. The studio is at my home at this point, so I have the advantage at the first part of the record that I could sneak up in the middle of the night when it was quiet and no one was calling us, and really sit there and concentrate on my parts. So that was very good. But Other than that, no, we're very dedicated to to the music. We put up a bullseye, and we've been just trying to put the arrow in it since then, and dot all the I's and cross all the T's.
Yeah, it's all KennethRoyMusic.com. That's what we're looking everybody to go to.
And adapt to the new digital norm of how music is being delivered, the quality standards, the bit rates, the things, more technical things that most people understand. But there's been a lot of changes, as I'm sure you know, as a radio guy in the industry. And there's more coming, especially since the amount of power available. Now you can go buy a Macintosh this big that's got more power than my tower over here that weighs 70 pounds and has all this stuff in it. So I'm sure that will have its own impact. I mean, it already has. People are producing music,
technology,
off of their laptop or iPads Pros. And I have nothing against that, although I think everybody owes to what you said earlier, that we all need to lend our ear to what has gone before us, so that we have both the knowledge and the respect of the people that have gone out before. We had all these nice automatic tunings and patches all made up for us, and everything got to be saved. And I always recommend, that's a good idea, but there's been a lot done. Go back and do your diligence on that, and find and learn some history about what it is that you're trying to do, and it'll enhance your playing.
Yeah, there you have it.
Well, it sounds like to me, Daniel, if it sounds like that you have a love of music and a love for the craft of it. And some of the anecdotal tidbits that you were sharing sort of gives me the impression that that's what reminds you that it's all worth it.
Indeed, and it's still a day-to-day active thing. Like I said, I got 40 years of word of mouth in the industry. I've never worked for a company per se, other than worked as a hireling, like doing soundtracks. So I hope that we do more music. My reason for, of course, getting involved in all the technical things, I just happen to be one of those weird guys who happen to have a foot on each side of the line. I can explain the technical things to the musical guys, and I can explain the musical things to the technical guys, and then that's what's allowed me to stay in the industry, being in Northern California for this amount of time.
Well, may I ask Kenny, would you second that emotion, or do you have something to add to that type of thought?
Well, no, he's older than me. He come along about 15 years before. So how am I going to refute anything?
Do you think you'll ever catch up with his resume and his pedigree here? That's a lot.
Well, I don't know. All I know is we're riding this album, Chairman, and that's really a big one, because there aren't too many people in the modern day, like he was saying, that are coming out with an album piece. And we've got our 10 songs. And very few people are able to get 2 or 3 singles off from an album, let alone, half of it. So as we keep going forward, I'm looking forward to doing more of it and keeping people listening, keeping them excited. That's what keeps it going for me.
Yeah, I got to say, when we started, we're like, how's this going to be taken? So, yeah, didn't start from a high point. It was like, let's see what happens. We'll let out the pre-release. Oh, it went. And the next one went. And then, right in the middle of COVID, the next one went. And so each time we've been doing more PR and more management and more station stuff.
Each single is done better than the last the whole time. From 2017 to the present day at 2023. Chairman had just hit number 4 on independent music this week, for example.
Congratulations. I'm glad it's working out.
We're not fooling around, all right? We wanted to be in the top 10. We wanted to be in the top 5, and it feels okay. It's good.
Well, even better, I think we finally busted the top 40 of the National 100, and that starts out with
that might have happened too.
Miley and Taylor Swift, who just dropped 7 albums.
Bigger names.
How we even got on the same page, with Taylor dropping 7 albums in a week. I don't know how that happened.
And we've got Miley Cyrus, we got Beyonce, we have Harry Styles, we have Weeknd, we have. And we're on there with these kinds of people. So it feels okay.
Roy,
it's good. As long as we're staying up there and staying consistent, either below them a little bit or a little bit above them.
Who are these guys?
Yeah.
So
and we're just trying to do it. There's me and him and me. So, you've got the old T-shirt say "I'm with stupid" and it's pointing at me. So there we are.
Okay.
Here we go, man.
Well, that's good. And plus, you got, I think, like you said, you got two of them running simultaneously. You got I Still Love You, and Chairman going on at the same time.
Yeah, Chairman going at the same time. Yeah.
And
you can't get run of one or the other.
Yeah, and the single before, In the Night, that still might be going too. There's a video with that one if you get a chance to check it.
Yes.
In the Night?
In the Night, yes,
okay.
sir.
Yeah,
In the Night. We did a video, and I'm down on the beach, and I'm hanging out in Mako, and everything is relaxed.
Yeah, it's a nice one. I hate to use the term, but they'd probably call it yacht rock.
Yeah,
I don't know. No, it's got a little bit of Latin. It's a pop Latin thing. Yeah, I think you'd like it.
In the night, she's gonna call out to me. In the night, we're gonna fly through ecstasy. In the night, I'm gonna love and come to see. Girl, in the night, everything's alright. In the night, in the night, at the edge of the ocean, she lives in a paradise, and I have an ocean that I need her in my life. And it's clear to me that I want her there. There's no place I would rather be. In the night, she's gonna call out to me. In the night, we're gonna fly through ecstasy. In the night, I'm gonna love and come to see. Girl, in the night, everything's alright. In the night, in the night, it's clear to me that I want her there. There's no place I would rather be. In the night, she's gonna call out to me. In the night, we're gonna fly through ecstasy. In the night, I'm gonna love and come to see. Girl, in the night, everything's alright. In the night, in the night, in the night.
Yeah, back in the Steely Dan bag, I'd have to go. It's back in that unclassifiable influence.
Yeah, it's in talking to some of these guys who were musicians on some of that yacht rock stuff like that. A couple of them come to terms. As they say, at least they gave it a genre. They coined a term for it because now people know what it is that we played on all those years.
Exactly.
I don't like the term, but I like it at least the fact that now there is a genre that we fit because bands like them and us were.
Well, you know what? I think it's a little over the top when they wear matching outfits, but that's just me. Okay, and some of the yacht rock stuff, what they call it because of the show and all that. Yeah, I kind of feel like that was some of the greatest music that people ever tracked and recorded and produced.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Just to call it that. I can understand what the doctor is trying to say because I'm of two minds on that thing. I don't like what it almost conjures up the wrong picture in your mind of what this music is.
Exactly.
Yeah,
But it's the show. It's the show and the way those guys act. That's the whole thing.
And what can you do? I mean, first, the industry puts us in one of 128 categories. And I've had clients, and even myself, I was trying to make up a genre because what I do is what I call neo-rock. Neo-rock and roll is rock from the day, but it's rock from today as well. But, you really can't put up your own genre.
Right. And for the Kenneth Roy stuff, we play a conglomerate. We're making music that we think people are going to like, but we're going to enjoy playing. So we be in a lot of different bags as far as my background's concerned. I like all kinds of music, whatever, blues or R&B, country, Western, funk, soul, jazz, Latin jazz, jazz fusion, this, that, the other thing. So we just try to focus on what it is we think is going to make a great song and what we think we can play best.
Well, thank you, Kenneth Roy Music. You're doing well. It sounds like things are going well for you both. And
we're trying to keep it going.
It's been an incredible experience to meet you both. Thanks for letting me sort of riff a little bit, and you guys carried the weight. It's fun. It's fun getting to talk. You can't go wrong just talking about your love of music, and we didn't even go. We probably have to do like a Ken Burns 10-part interview with his jazz knowledge.
We don't have that kind of time, though. This was long enough. Our attention spans are starting to waver a little.
Kennethpedia would be a
Dr. Daniel Ryman Wikipedia or whatever. We don't have that kind of time.
We'll get out our virtual razor blades and
those razor blades. That's another thing you don't have to worry about anymore, right?
No more great. I used to always carry, straight edge and grease pen. Always.
Cutting tape,
splicing, all that stuff. Yeah, these are terms that are just obsolete now, I think. Now,
funny. Well, we hear them use the word tape on the news every night, and we hear the word album used, yet neither things exist.
They don't exist.
I still use album. Why not? It's you say CD, you say album. I still think of them as one and the same. Unless it's an EP or any of these.
No. EP is different. EP is extended play. It's half an album.
Yeah. It's
or not like considered long enough to be an album. Yeah. The fact they said that about my second album, Second in Time, that it was a little too short because it didn't run over a half hour. So that's actually considered an EP.
What can I say? Dr. Daniel Ryman, I can see why they call you a doctor. You have quite a vast knowledge of all kinds of just about everything when it comes to creating music and getting your music out there, and we didn't even scratch the surface, but I appreciate all the things you shared, Doctor. I really do.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Great. And Kenneth Roy's right in there with you. Kenneth Roy Music. Everybody go check these guys out. Kenneth Roy Music.
Chairman.
Google. Yeah. Jam with them. And
the Chairman. That's the one to check out.
Chairman is the thing you want to check out right now. Good. And there'll be plenty more, but today we're just talking about Chairman, and I Still Love You So is still out there. So,
It is. Check out this. To go. Who knows?
Yeah. I would say Kenneth Roy Music, Chairman. And then step back. You're going to find yourself in for a treat. So, all my best to you guys. I'm clapping for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You're very nice.
Thanks for your time, and you all have a great day today.
You have a great day, and thanks to everybody who's listened to this.
All right. Thanks for the wealth of information and the great time today. Take care now.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
See you later.
See you later now. Thanks so much for watching and listening to Strongwriter. Kenneth Roy's single, Chairman, is available on all different streaming platforms. Go to KennethRoyMusic.com. You've been listening to Strongwriter on the radio, as heard on the Dean Olson radio program, and heard all across America on Power Me Up Radio, powered by Raven International.